Will you adopt me? A filthy little girl whispered, staring at the man in the Armani suit. Alexander Sterling exploded in cruel laughter. But in 24 hours that child would do the impossible. She would shatter all his certainties and rebuild his fractured soul. Snow fell heavily on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. December 23rd, the day before Christmas Eve, and Alexander Sterling walked irritably down the frozen sidewalk, ignoring the Christmas buzz around him. At 45 years old, CEO of Sterling Global Investments, a ruthless billionaire, everything about him screamed absolute power. The Italian cashmere overcoat, the leather gloves, the Patek Philippe on his wrist, all impossibly expensive. But his grey eyes were empty-dead. Sir, he didn't even look. Just another beggar. New York was infested with them. Please, sir. Alexander stopped, annoyed, and looked down. It was a girl. Couldn't have been more than 7 years old, sitting on the frozen ground, leaning against the brick wall of a closed storefront. Thin, torn coat, blonde hair tangled and matted, face smudged with soot. But it was her eyes, those enormous blue eyes, that stared at him with desperate hope. "What do you want?" Alexander asked coldly. "I don't give money to beggars." "I'm not asking for money," the girl said, her voice trembling from the cold. "I'm asking for help. It's the same thing. Find a shelter." He turned to walk away, but her voice stopped him. "Will you adopt me?" Alexander froze. Slowly, he turned back around. "What?" The girl struggled to her feet, her lips purple with cold. "Will you adopt me? I need a family. And you seem good." The laugh that came from Alexander's throat was bitter, cruel. It echoed down the street. "Me? Good?" He crouched down until he was at her eye level, his face inches from hers. "Girl, I'm the last person in the world who should adopt anyone. But I don't have anyone anymore," she whispered, her eyes filling with tears. "My mom died 3 days ago. They wanted to take me to an orphanage, but I ran away. I don't want to go there. I just want a family. Not my problem. There are social services for that. Please." The girl grabbed the sleeve of his overcoat with small, dirty hands. "I can cook. I can clean. I'm no trouble. I just need a place to stay. Just until Christmas passes." He jerked his arm, pulling away from her. "Let go of my coat. This thing costs more than you'll see in your entire life." Tears now streamed freely down her dirty face. "I promise I'll be good. I promise that. That's enough." Alexander raised his voice, making the girl flinch in fear. "Listen here, kid. I don't know your name and I don't want to know it. I'm not a babysitter. I'm not a social worker. And I'm definitely not a father. Go find someone else to manipulate with your sob story." He turned his back and started walking fast. He wanted distance from this child. "My name is Emily." Her voice came from behind him, breaking. "Emily Rose Parker. And I'm not lying. My mom really did die." Alexander didn't stop. He kept walking down Fifth Avenue while the snow fell harder, muffling the girl's sobs. But something squeezed in his chest, a feeling he hadn't felt in 5 years. No, he blocked the thought. He wasn't going down that road. Never again. 15 minutes later, he arrived at the Plaza Hotel. The lobby sparkled with over-the-top holiday decorations, giant tree, crystal ornaments, golden lights. The annual high society charity dinner, rich people laughing, toasting with expensive champagne, wearing jewels that could feed entire families. Alexander grabbed a glass and drank it all at once. He needed to forget those pleading blue eyes. Alexander, finally. Vivian Rothschild, the event organizer, expensive red dress, approached him. I was getting worried. You're never late. Traffic. He lied. Well, you're here now. Come on. I need to introduce you to... Vivian kept talking, but Alexander wasn't listening. Because there, through the glass doors that opened onto the street, he saw a small figure standing in the snow. Emily, she had followed him. Excuse me, Vivian. He marched toward the exit. Outside, the cold cut like blades. Emily was there, shaking violently. You followed me? Alexander asked through gritted teeth. I didn't know where to go, she sobbed. I'm so cold and so hungry. I haven't eaten anything since yesterday. That's not. It wasn't his problem. It wasn't. But he couldn't finish the sentence. Please, Emily whispered. Just one night. Just let me sleep somewhere warm. Tomorrow I'll leave. I promise. Alexander looked at her. Really looked at her for the first time. She was so small, so fragile, so alone. Like him. Do you have any family? Grandparents, aunts, uncles, anyone? Emily shook her head. Mom was all I had. And now she's gone. Silence. Just the sound of snow falling. Alexander Sterling, the ruthless billionaire, who had built an empire destroying companies without flinching, who hadn't shown emotion in 5 years, who had sworn he'd never let anyone into his life again, looked at this trembling child and felt his defenses begin to crack. Come on, he said before he could change his mind. Emily's eyes widened. What? Come on. Before I change my mind. The girl hesitated, as if she couldn't believe it. You're serious? If I was joking, I'd still be in there drinking $1,000 champagne. Emily took a step forward, shaking. I can really go with you. You can, but just for tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure this out properly. Social worker, shelter, whatever it takes. Okay, she whispered, new hope shining in her blue eyes. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet, Alexander said, his voice still cold but with an almost imperceptible crack in it. And my name is Alexander. Alexander Sterling. Mr. Sterling, just Alexander. Emily smiled for the first time. A small, shy smile, but genuine. Okay, Alexander. He called his driver on the phone. Thomas, I'm in front of the plaza. I need you to pick me up now. 3 minutes later, a black Mercedes Maybach pulled up to the curb. Thomas, a 60-year-old driver who had worked for Alexander for 15 years, got out and opened the back door. His eyes widened when he saw the filthy girl standing next to his boss, Mr. Sterling. Don't ask, Alexander said dryly. Just drive. Thomas knew his boss well enough not to question. He opened the door, and Emily looked at the luxurious interior of the car, as if she were looking at a palace. I can really get in there? She whispered. Get in before I change my mind. She climbed in slowly, carefully, as if afraid she might dirty something. Alexander got in after her, and Thomas closed the door. "Where to, sir?" Thomas asked from the driver's seat. "Home." The car began moving through Manhattan's snowy streets. Emily was huddled in the corner of the seat, staring out the window with wide eyes. She'd probably never been in a car like this. Probably had never been in a car that wasn't a taxi or a bus. "You must be hungry," Alexander said, breaking the silence. Emily looked at him and nodded timidly. "When was the last time you had a real meal?" "Night before last. At my mom's house." Before she, her voice failed and she began crying silently. Alexander didn't know what to do. It had been 5 years since he'd seen someone cry like this in front of him. 5 years since, Thomas, he called out. "Stop at that deli on Madison. The one that's open 24 hours. "Yes, sir." Minutes later, they pulled up in front of a lit delicatessen. Alexander got out and Emily followed him, still shivering from the cold. Inside the store, warmth embraced them. The owner, an Italian man in his 60s, looked at Emily with pity. "What would you like to eat?" Alexander asked. Emily looked at him with wide eyes. "Anything, anything." She stared at the menu with an expression of someone who couldn't believe what was happening. Could I have a sandwich? And soup?" "You can." Alexander ordered a turkey sandwich, tomato soup, hot chocolate, and some cookies. When the food arrived, Emily ate like she hadn't seen food in days, which was probably true. Slowly, Alexander said, "You'll get sick." She tried to slow down, but it was impossible. She was starving. Alexander watched her in silence, and for the first time in 5 years, he felt something beyond emptiness. He felt compassion, and it terrified him. Alexander Sterling's mansion was located on Upper East Side, one of Manhattan's most exclusive areas. 5 stories of limestone, enormous windows, wrought iron gates. It was worth $47 million. When the Mercedes pulled up in front, Emily's mouth fell open. "You live here?" "I do," Alexander answered, getting out of the car. "Alone?" He froze. The simple question hit him like a blade. "Yes, alone." Emily got out of the car and followed Alexander to the front door. He entered a code, and the door opened, revealing an entrance hall with a double-height ceiling, a baccarat crystal chandelier, and Italian marble flooring. "Wow," Emily whispered, her eyes taking in every detail. "Thomas, you can go. I won't need you any more today. Are you sure, Mr. Sterling?" Thomas looked at Emily with poorly concealed concern. "I am. Good night." "Good night, sir." The door closed and silence descended on the mansion. A heavy, oppressive silence. The kind of silence that exists in houses too big for one person alone. "Take off your shoes," Alexander said. "They're wet from the snow." Emily obeyed, revealing torn and dirty socks. "You'll need clean clothes. And a bath." "I know I'm dirty," Emily said, embarrassed. "Sorry." It wasn't criticism. It was fact. "Come on." He guided her up the marble stairs to the second floor. The hallway was long, with several closed doors. Alexander stopped in front of one and stood there, his hand on the doorknob, unable to open it. Alexander?" Emily asked timidly. He took a deep breath and opened the door. It was a child's bedroom, but not just any room. It was a princess bedroom. Light pink walls, a white canopied bed, shelves filled with books and toys, a giant dollhouse in the corner. Everything was impeccably clean, as if someone had just finished straightening it up. But there was a thin layer of dust over everything, as if no one had been in there in a very long time. Emily walked in slowly, touching things with reverence. "Whose room is this?" Alexander stayed in the doorway, not entering. "It was my daughter's." "Was?" Silence. "She died 5 years ago. She was 7 years old, the same age as you." Emily turned around, her eyes wide. "I'm sorry. Everyone is," Alexander said, his voice sharp. "It doesn't change anything." "What? What was her name?" He hesitated. He hadn't spoken that name in years. It hurt too much. Sophia. Sophia Elizabeth Sterling. That's a beautiful name. She was a beautiful girl, smart, full of life. His voice cracked. Until a drunk driver decided that driving drunk was a good idea. Emily said nothing, just listened. She was coming home from school. A car hit the school van. Sophia died on impact. 7 other children were injured. Alexander clenched his fists. The driver had minor injuries. Walked away from the accident. What happened to him? 3 years in prison. Got out in a year and a half for good behavior. The bitterness in his voice was palpable. "A year and a half for my daughter's life. That's horrible," Emily whispered. "It's the world. Horrible, unfair, cruel." He pointed to the bathroom. "There are clean towels in there. Sophia's clothes should fit you. Pick whatever you want." "Mr. Alexander, just Alexander." "I already told you." "Alexander, are you sure it's okay that I stay here?" He looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time he saw beyond the dirt, beyond the torn clothes. He saw a scared little girl, alone, who had just lost her mother. Exactly what Sophia would have been if it was him who had died. "No," he said honestly, "I'm not sure about anything. But you're here now, so take a bath, put on clean clothes, and then we'll talk." "Okay." Alexander left and closed the door. He leaned against the hallway wall, his hands trembling. What the hell was he doing? Why had he brought that girl to his house? To Sophia's room, of all places? Because you saw her eyes, a voice whispered in his mind, and they were just like Sophia's. 20 minutes later, Emily came out of the room. She was transformed. Her blonde hair, now clean, fell in waves to her shoulders. She was wearing a pink pajama set with little stars, one of Sophia's favorites. Her clean face revealed freckles and rosy cheeks. She looked so small, so vulnerable. "Better?" Alexander asked. "Much better, thank you. Come on, let's talk." They went down to the living room. Fireplace lit, Italian leather sofas, enormous windows showing Manhattan covered in snow. Alexander poured himself a whiskey, Macallan 25 years, $2,000 a bottle. Emily sat at the edge of the sofa, hands in her lap. "Tell me about your mother," Alexander said, sitting down in the chair across from her. Emily bit her lip. Her name was Jennifer. Jennifer Parker. She was a nurse. "A good nurse?" "The best," Emily said proudly. "She worked at Mount Sinai Hospital. Night shift. She always said that helping people was her calling." And your father? Emily's face darkened. I never knew him. Mom said he left when he found out she was pregnant. Never came back. Alexander took a sip of whiskey. How did your mother die? Emily looked at the floor, her eyes filling with tears. Cancer in her lungs. She found out 6 months ago. The doctors said it was aggressive, that it had spread. She did chemotherapy, but it didn't help. 6 months, Alexander repeated. Did she suffer? A lot, Emily whispered, especially at the end. She tried to hide it from me, but I saw her vomiting, crying from pain when she thought I was asleep. She got so thin, so weak. The tears fell. On the last day, she called me close to her bed. She said she loved me more than anything in the world, that I was the best thing that had ever happened to her, and she asked me to be strong. And you ran away from the hospital? Emily shook her head. No. When she died, the social workers came. They said I would go to a temporary home until they found an adoptive family for me. But the place was horrible. There were 20 other kids, everyone screaming, fighting. At night I could hear some of them crying. I couldn't take it. I ran away at the first chance. That was 3 days ago. It was. Since then I've been sleeping in doorways, subway stations, trying not to draw attention. Today you were the first person I really asked for help. Alexander was silent, processing. That girl had lost everything, just like him 5 years ago. Why me? He asked. Why did you choose me? Emily looked at him with those penetrating blue eyes. Because I saw sadness in your eyes. The same sadness I feel. And I thought maybe you'd understand. The observation hit him like a punch. She was 7 years old and already read people better than most adults. You're right, he admitted. I do understand. I understand loss. I understand pain. I understand what it's like to have a hole in your chest that never heals. So, will you help me? Alexander took another sip of whiskey, buying himself time. Every bit of logic screamed to say no. To call social services tomorrow morning, hand Emily over to the proper authorities, and go back to his empty but predictable life. But when he looked at her, he saw Sophia. Not physically. Sophia had brown hair, green eyes. But he saw the same vulnerability, the same desperate need for love, for belonging. I will, he said finally, but I need you to understand one thing. I'm not a good person, Emily. I'm not kind. I'm not patient. I'm not the fairy tale father you're looking for. I don't want a fairy tale, Emily said simply. I just want someone who cares. What if I don't know how to do that? We'll learn together. Alexander looked at that 7-year-old girl speaking with the wisdom of someone who had lived 10 lifetimes. And for the first time in 5 years, he felt something beyond anger and emptiness. He felt hope. Small. Fragile. But hope. Okay, he said. Tomorrow we'll take care of the legal process. I'll talk to lawyers, social workers, whatever it takes. But I'm not promising anything. The system might not let me keep you, but you'll try? I'll try. Emily jumped off the sofa and ran to him, throwing her arms around Alexander's neck. The hug caught him completely off guard. He froze, unsure what to do with his hands. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. Slowly, hesitantly, Alexander raised his arms and returned the hug. And when he did, something inside him, something that had been frozen for 5 years, began to thaw. Just a little, but enough to feel again. "You're welcome, Emily," he whispered back. "You're welcome." Alexander woke up at 6 a.m. As always, his routine was military: gym at 6:15, shower at 7 o'clock, breakfast at 7:30, office at 8:30. He never varied. Never. But when he came down to the kitchen, his routine imploded. Emily was there, standing on a stool, stirring something in a pot on the stove. She was wearing one of Sophia's aprons, far too big on her, and humming softly to herself. "What are you doing?" Alexander asked, startling her. "Making breakfast," Emily said with a smile. "Scrambled eggs and toast. Mom taught me." Alexander looked at the stove suspiciously. "You're 7 years old. You shouldn't be using the stove." "I'm careful, I promise." He was about to protest, but the smell of the eggs was tempting. It had been years since he'd had a home-cooked breakfast. His housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, only came 3 times a week, and he either ate out or skipped the meal altogether. "Okay," he relented, "but next time wake me up first. I don't want you getting burned. I promise." They sat down at the kitchen table, an enormous marble table that was rarely used. Emily served the eggs and toast with pride. "Is it good?" she asked anxiously as Alexander took his first bite. He chewed slowly. The eggs were perfect, creamy, seasoned just right. "It's very good." The smile that lit up Emily's face was worth more than any $1 million deal he'd ever closed. They ate in comfortable silence until Alexander's phone rang. It was Margaret Reeves, his personal attorney. "Alexander, good morning. I got your message last night. You really brought a child to your house?" "I did. Have you lost your mind?" "Probably. I need you to come here. Today. Now, if possible. I'll be there in an hour. And Alexander, don't do anything else until I get there. Nothing. Do you understand?" He hung up and looked at Emily. "My attorney is coming here. She'll help us sort this out legally. What if she says I can't stay? Then we fight. I didn't make a fortune by giving up easily." An hour later, Margaret Reeves rang the doorbell. At 52 years old, with grey hair pulled back in a bun, impeccable business suit, she was one of the most feared attorneys in New York. She'd won impossible cases and charged $1,500 an hour. Alexander brought her to the living room. Emily waited on the sofa, nervous. "So this is the girl," Margaret said, studying Emily with a clinical eye. "My name is Emily," the girl said with a firm voice. "Emily Rose Parker. Nice to meet you, Emily. I'm Margaret Reeves." She turned to Alexander. "Can we speak in private?" "No," Emily said, surprising them both. "If it's about me, I want to hear." Margaret looked at Alexander, who shrugged. "She's right. It is about her." "All right." Margaret sat down, opening a folder. "Emily, tell me your story. From the beginning." Emily told everything. Her mother's illness, her death, her escape from the temporary home, the 3 days on the street. She didn't cry, didn't exaggerate, just stated the facts. Margaret listened in silence, making notes. "And you, Alexander, why did you bring her home?" He hesitated. Because I couldn't leave her there, on the street, cold, alone. That's admirable, but it's not enough for adoption. Do you understand that? I understand. The process is long, invasive. They'll investigate every aspect of your life. Finances, criminal history, mental health. Are you prepared for that? I am. Margaret looked at him for a long moment. Do you really want to do this? Or is it just guilt about Sophia? The name of his dead daughter landed like a bomb in the room. Emily looked between them, sensing the tension. I don't know, Alexander admitted. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's insanity. But when I look at her, I see someone who needs help. And I have resources to help. So why not? Because adoption isn't charity, Alexander. It's commitment. For life. Are you ready to have a daughter again? To relive all those memories? Silence. Emily stood up from the sofa. I don't want to be a burden, she said, her voice trembling. If you're doing this out of pity, I'd rather go back to the orphanage. It's not pity, Alexander said quickly. Then what is it? He looked at that courageous girl who, even at 7 years old, had enough dignity to refuse charity. It's a second chance. For me, for you. So we don't have to be alone. Emily stared at him with those penetrating blue eyes. Do you promise you won't give me back? That you won't give up on me? I promise. Even if I do something stupid. Even if I disappoint you. Even then. Emily ran and hugged Alexander hard. This time, he didn't hesitate to return it. Margaret watched the scene with an unreadable expression. All right, she said finally. I'll start the process. But I need to warn you. It's going to be difficult. You're single, a workaholic, have a history of depression after Sophia's death. Social services will question everything. Let them question. I have answers. And there's one more problem, Margaret continued. Emily fled legal custody. Technically, you're harboring a runaway minor. And what was I supposed to do? Leave her freezing on the street. You should have called the authorities immediately. Now they could interpret this as kidnapping. Kidnapping? Alexander exploded. I saved her. I know. But the law doesn't see it that way. I'll have to notify social services today. They'll come here. Emily went pale. Will they take me away? Not if I can help it, Margaret said. I'll petition for emergency custody for Alexander, but I can't guarantee anything. 2 hours later, the house was full. 2 social workers, a child psychologist, and a legal representative from the state, all wanting to talk to Emily, assess the situation, decide her fate. The lead social worker was a woman in her 40s named Linda Morrison, thin, stern, with a tablet in her hand noting everything. Emily, dear, I need to ask you some questions, Linda said in a sickeningly sweet voice. Okay. Why did you run away from the temporary home? Because it was horrible. Too many kids, not enough food. Nobody cared about us. Linda frowned. That's not true. That home is licensed, follows all protocols. I was there. Emily exploded. I know what it was like. You weren't. Emily, calm down. No. You put us in those places and pretend everything's fine. But it's not. Alexander stood up. Enough. She's not a criminal to be interrogated like this, Mr. Sterling. I'm just doing my job. Your job should be protecting children, not traumatizing them. Linda turned to him. And your job, Mr. Sterling, was to notify authorities as soon as you found an unaccompanied minor, not bring her home like she's a stray dog. The insult left the room in tense silence. Watch your next words, Alexander said, his voice dangerously low. Or what? You'll sue me. I'm a public employee doing my duty. And my duty now is to remove Emily from this house and place her in appropriate custody. While we investigate your intentions, my intentions, I want to adopt her. You've known her less than 24 hours. That's not adoption, that's impulse. Emily started to cry. Please don't take me away from here, please. Linda crouched in front of her. Dear, it's for your own good. You don't know this man. He could be dangerous. He's not dangerous. Emily cried out. He saved me. He gave me food, clean clothes, a warm place. He cared when nobody else did. Emily, no, you don't care. You just want to put me in a file, in a folder, in a system. But Alexander saw me, really saw me. The passionate argument from the 7-year-old left everyone speechless. Margaret seized the moment. Linda, do you have judicial authorization to remove Emily from this house? I don't need it. She's a runaway minor. Then technically she wasn't under your custody when Mr. Sterling found her. She was an unaccompanied minor in a dangerous situation. He provided her shelter, which is legal under the Good Samaritan law. That's a distortion of the law. It's an interpretation, and a judge will agree with me. Margaret crossed her arms. So unless you have judicial authorization, Emily stays here. Under supervision, of course. Regular visits, reports, whatever you want. But she stays. Linda looked at Margaret, then at Alexander, then at Emily. This isn't over, she said finally. Never said it was, Alexander replied. But today Emily stays with me. And tomorrow too. And every day after that until a judge says otherwise. Linda left with her team, frustrated. When the door closed, Emily ran to Alexander. Will they take me away? Not while I'm breathing. And in that moment, Alexander Sterling realized something fundamental. He'd just declared war on the system, and he had no idea if he could win. But he was going to fight anyway. That night, Alexander couldn't sleep. He stayed in his office until 3 a.m., reading about adoption laws, legal precedents, similar cases. The more he read, the more he realized the size of the problem. He was single, a workaholic, with documented history of severe depression after Sophia's death. He'd spent 6 months in intensive therapy, had even been hospitalized for 2 weeks when he'd tried to. No, he wouldn't think about that. But the social workers would. They'd dig into every dark corner of his life. Soft knocking on the door pulled him from his thoughts. Alexander? It was Emily, in her pajamas, clutching a stuffed bear she'd found in Sophia's room. You should be sleeping, he said. I can't. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and this will all have been a dream. It's not a dream. Promise. Alexander stood and went to her, kneeling down to meet her eyes. I promise. You're safe here. Emily hugged the bear tightly. I'm scared. Me too. Really, really. I have no idea what I'm doing. I forgot how to take care of someone. But you're trying, and that's a lot. The wisdom of that child kept surprising him. "Come on," he said. "I'll take you back to bed." He carried her upstairs to the bedroom. When Emily lay down, he covered her with the comforter, the same one that had covered Sophia 5 years ago. "Alexander, yes? Will you stay until I fall asleep?" He hesitated. He hadn't been in that room in 5 years. He avoided it like it was radioactive. "Please." He couldn't deny those pleading eyes. "Okay." He sat down in the chair beside the bed. Emily closed her eyes, but clutched the bear like it was a life jacket. "Alexander, I'm still here. Tell me about Sophia." The question caught him off guard. "Why?" "Because this was her room, and I want to know about her." Alexander was silent for a long moment. Then he began to speak. For the first time in 5 years, Sophia she was pure energy. She'd wake up at 6 in the morning singing, literally singing, made-up songs, nonsensical, but happy. Emily smiled with her eyes closed. She loved animals, wanted to be a veterinarian, was always bringing injured creatures home. Birds, squirrels, once a raccoon. My wife, Catherine, went crazy. Your wife died too? No. She left me 6 months after Sophia died. Why? Because I stopped functioning, stopped feeling, talking, living. And she couldn't bear being married to a ghost. I'm sorry. Me too. Alexander looked at the ceiling. Sophia had green eyes, like her mother, and the most beautiful smile in the world. When she smiled, it was impossible not to smile back. I bet she was beautiful. She was, inside and out. Emily opened her eyes. Do you think she would have liked me? The question pierced Alexander's heart like a blade. I think she would have loved you. You two would have been best friends. Really, really. Sophia was generous, courageous, protected people who needed it. Just like you. Emily smiled and closed her eyes again. Thank you for telling me about her. Thank you for asking. It feels good to talk about her. Minutes later, Emily fell asleep. Alexander stayed there, watching her breathe softly, and he realized something terrifying. In less than 24 hours, that girl had already dug a hole in his heart. The next morning, the bomb exploded. Alexander was having breakfast when Margaret called. Turn on the TV. Channel 7. Now. He turned it on and felt his blood freeze. It was a news report. Billionaire harbors runaway miner, the headline read. And there was a photo of him and Emily entering the mansion the night before. Someone had photographed them. The reporter was speaking. Alexander Sterling, CEO of Sterling Global Investments, is under investigation after harboring Emily Parker, a 7-year-old minor who fled legal custody. Authorities are questioning Sterling's intentions, especially following the tragic death of his daughter Sophia 5 years ago. Turn it off, Emily said behind him. Alexander turned around. She was pale. Emily, they're going to use this against you, aren't they? They're going to say you're crazy, that you're trying to replace your daughter. I don't care what they say. You should. She was crying now. You're rich, important. I'm going to ruin your life. You're not ruining anything. I am. I should have stayed in the orphanage. I should have. Stop. Alexander knelt in front of her. Listen to me. They can say whatever they want. They can call me crazy, desperate, anything. It doesn't change the fact that you need help, and I can help. But what if they remove you from the company? What if they sue you? Then I fight. Emily, I already lost everything that mattered once. Money, power, reputation, they're just things. You're a person, and people are worth more. The phone rang. It was William Chen, president of the board of Sterling Global. Alexander, we need to talk. Now. An hour later, Alexander was in the company's boardroom. The entire board was there, 12 men and women who could fire him with a vote. Alexander, William began, this situation is becoming untenable. Our stock dropped 3% just this morning. Because of a child. Because of perception, Martha Davidson, the chief financial officer, corrected. Investors are nervous. They think you're having another breakdown. I'm not having any breakdown. Then explain this impulsive decision to bring a stranger to your house. She's not a stranger. She's a child who needed help. And you never thought to call the appropriate services? William asked. I did think about it. But when I looked at her, I saw Sophia. I saw someone alone, scared, needing someone who cared. And I couldn't turn my back. Heavy silence. Alexander, Martha said more gently, we understand. But this can't affect the company. I suggest you resolve this discreetly. Place the girl in appropriate care. Make a generous donation. But end this circus. No. No. I'm not placing her in any home. I'm going to adopt her. The board exploded in protests. You've completely lost it. This will destroy your credibility. Think about the shareholders. ENOUGH? Alexander slammed his hand on the table. You want to talk about credibility? About values? This company was founded on the principle that success isn't just profit. It's impact. It's making a difference. Difference in business, William said. Not in personal charity. Personal charity? That girl taught me more about humanity in 24 hours than all of you in 20 years. Alexander, be reasonable. Reasonable. He laughed bitterly. You know, what's reasonable? Reasonable is a 7-year-old girl sleeping on the street cold and hungry. Reasonable is a system that doesn't care about children unless they become statistics. I spent 5 years being reasonable, being dead inside. Emily made me feel alive again. And if you can't understand that, that's your problem. We're trying to protect you, Martha said. Then protect me by supporting my decision. Or fire me. But I'm not giving up on her. William looked at the other board members. We need to vote. Then vote. The vote was quick. 7 in favor of keeping Alexander as CEO. 4 against. 1 abstained. He won. Barely. You have 2 weeks, William said. Resolve this situation or we're reopening the vote. Alexander left the meeting exhausted. On the way home, he stopped at a jewelry store. Can I help you, sir? The salesman asked. I want a gift for a 7-year-old girl. Your daughter? Alexander hesitated. Hopefully, very soon. Yes. He chose a delicate necklace with a star-shaped pendant. Simple, but beautiful. When he got home, Emily was in the living room doing homework. Margaret had managed emergency enrollment in a nearby school. Hi, she said when she saw him. Hi, how was school? Strange. The kids keep staring. They already know who I am. And what did you say? That I'm lucky, because I found someone good. Alexander felt his chest tighten. I have something for you." He gave her the little box. Emily opened it and her eyes widened. "It's beautiful. It's a star. Because you've lit up my dark life." Emily started to cry. "Nobody's ever given me anything like this." "Then it's time someone did." She jumped and hugged Alexander hard. And he, for the first time in 5 years, allowed himself to feel completely love. Not the love he had for Sophia. That would never die. But new love. Different. For a courageous girl who appeared from nowhere and changed everything. "Thank you," Emily whispered. "Thank you for not giving up on me." That night, sitting together on the couch watching a movie, Alexander realized something fundamental. He wasn't saving Emily. She was saving him. 3 days later, at 6 a.m., the doorbell rang insistently. Alexander came down in his robe, annoyed. Who the hell rang the doorbell at 6 in the morning? He opened the door and froze. Catherine Sterling was standing there, his ex-wife, the woman he hadn't seen in 4 years. She was still beautiful, perfectly styled blonde hair, penetrating green eyes, designer dress. But there was something different. Lines around her eyes, bitterness in her mouth. "Catherine, what do you want? I need to talk to you now. It's 6 in the morning. I know what time it is. Alexander, can I come in or are we going to talk in the cold?" He let her in reluctantly. Catherine looked around, recognizing every detail of the house that had once been hers too. "You haven't changed anything," she observed. "I saw no reason to change." "Of course you didn't." She turned to him. "I saw the news. You brought a child to your house?" "I did." "Are you insane?" "You and everyone else ask me that." The answer is still no. Alexander, you barely survived Sophia's death. And now you want another daughter? She's not a replacement for Sophia. No. Catherine crossed her arms. Then why did you bring her home? Why did you put her in Sophia's room? That's not healthy. Who are you to talk about healthy? You abandoned me when I needed you most. Because you wanted to die, Alexander. Literally die. I came home that day and found you in the bathroom with... Stop. He didn't want Emily to hear this. But it was too late. Emily was at the top of the stairs in her pajamas, eyes wide. Alexander tried to kill himself. Deadly silence. Catherine looked up and saw the girl. Her face went pale. My God, she looks so much like... Don't finish that sentence, Alexander warned. But Catherine was already climbing the stairs, as if hypnotized. She stopped in front of Emily, studying every detail of the girl's face. You're the same age as she was, 7 years old. Emily didn't respond, just looked at that strange woman. Catherine, leave her alone, Alexander came up to. What's your name? Emily. The girl answered in a small voice. Emily. Catherine closed her eyes. Of course it is. A princess's name. Just like Sophia. That's enough. Alexander positioned himself between them. Get out, Catherine. I won't. Not until we talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is. You're using this child to fill a void. It's cruel to her and destructive for you. I'm not using anyone, no. Catherine pointed at the necklace Emily was wearing. You gave her jewelry, bought her clothes, put her in Sophia's room like she's a replacement doll? You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly. I watched you destroy yourself. Saw you cry until you blacked out. Saw you scream Sophia's name in your sleep. And now you think a strange child is going to fix everything. Emily started crying silently. Look what you did, Alexander said through gritted teeth. Catherine looked at Emily and, for the first time, her stern expression softened. I'm sorry, dear. I didn't mean to scare you. Did you try to kill yourself? Emily asked Alexander, ignoring Catherine. He closed his eyes. I did. 4 years ago. 3 months after Sophia died. Why? Because the pain was too much. Because I thought I couldn't live without her. But you did. I did. But it wasn't real living. It was just existing. Emily came down the steps and took his hand. And now, do you still want to die? Alexander looked at her, at those blue eyes full of fear and hope. No. Now I want to live. For you. Catherine came down the stairs too. Alexander, I didn't come here to fight. I came because I'm worried. Worried about what? Your image? Your divorce settlement? She flinched as if she'd been slapped. That was low. It was true. You took half of everything and disappeared. Married that plastic surgeon 3 months later because I needed to move on. You refused to go to therapy, take medication, try. I couldn't save you, Alexander. You wouldn't let me, so you abandoned me. Because staying was killing me too. The silence that followed was heavy as lead. Emily let go of Alexander's hand and walked up to Catherine. Were you married to him? I was. For 12 years. And did you love him? Catherine hesitated. I did. Very much. Then why did you leave when he needed you most? The question, coming from a 7-year-old child, hit Catherine like a blade. Because I wasn't strong enough. But I am, Emily said with conviction. And I'm not going to abandon him. Never. Catherine looked at that little girl with admiration and pain mixed together. You don't understand. You don't know what it's like to live with someone who wants to die. My mom wanted to live, Emily said. Desperately, but cancer wouldn't let her. So I know exactly what it's like to lose someone. And I know that wasting time being afraid is stupid. Alexander felt his eyes burn. That girl had more wisdom than most adults. Catherine wiped away a tear that escaped. You're special, Emily. I see that. Thank you. But I need to know something. She looked at Alexander. Are you really going to adopt her? Or is it just temporary guilt? I'm going to adopt her, Alexander said firmly. If she wants me to. If the system allows it. I'm going to fight for her, even knowing they're going to dig into your past, your suicide attempt, your depression, everything, even knowing that. Catherine was silent for a long moment. Then she did something surprising. She opened her purse and took out an envelope. I came here with a letter from my lawyers, saying I'm going to fight for custody of Emily, claiming you're mentally unstable. Alexander went pale. You wouldn't do that. I would, if I thought it was better for her. Catherine looked at Emily, but seeing you two together, seeing her defend you, I think I was wrong. She tore the letter in front of them. What? Alexander couldn't believe it. You found something I could never give you. Hope. And I'd be a monster if I took that away from you. Catherine. But there are conditions, she said, her voice becoming firm again. You go back to therapy. Seriously, not just for show. And I want visitation rights. Visitation? I'm not her mother. I know that. But I was married to you. Sophia was my daughter too. And if Emily is going to fill that space, I want to be part of it. Somehow. Alexander looked at Emily. What do you think? Emily studied Catherine. Will you promise not to be mean to Alexander? I promise. And will you promise to accept me? Even though I'm not really your daughter? Catherine knelt down in front of her. Emily, I lost a daughter. I know the pain it causes. If you give me a chance, I promise to try to be, not your mother, but maybe a friend, someone who cares. Emily thought for a moment. Then she extended her small hand. Single quotes, okay. You can visit. Catherine took her hand and started to cry. Years of repressed tears, unprocessed pain, buried regrets. Thank you, she whispered. Alexander watched the scene, still processing. Catherine, the woman who had left him at his worst moment, was here making peace, supporting something that seemed insane to everyone else. Catherine, why are you doing this? She stood up, wiping away her tears. Because I've spent 4 years hating myself for abandoning you. Because I married another man trying to forget and only felt more empty. And because I look at Emily and see a chance at redemption. For me, for you, for us. Us? Not as a couple, she clarified quickly. That's over. But as extended family. I don't know. Maybe it's crazy. Considering that adopting a stranger is already crazy, Alexander said with a small smile, adding a little more won't make a difference. Catherine smiled too, for the first time in years. So we have a deal. Therapy for me, visits for you, and all of us trying not to screw up this child's life. Sounds like a plan. Emily looked between them both. So I can stay. Really? Alexander picked her up. You can stay. I'm going to do everything to make sure of it. Even if it's hard, even if it's impossible. Emily hugged his neck tight. I love you, Alexander. The words hit him like lightning. Nobody had said that to him in 5 years. I love you too, Emily. Catherine watched the scene with a sad but genuine smile. She had lost Alexander. She had lost Sophia. But maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to lose everything. Maybe there was still room for something new, something good, something that looked like hope. 2 weeks later, on Christmas Eve, Alexander received the call he'd been dreading. Mr. Sterling, this is Linda Morrison from Social Services. The custody hearing has been scheduled. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Tomorrow, on Christmas Day. The judge wanted to resolve this quickly, given the media attention. I hope you're prepared. She hung up before he could respond. Alexander put the phone in his pocket, his hands shaking. Everything would be decided tomorrow. Emily would either stay or be taken away. Bad news? Catherine asked. She was there helping Emily decorate the Christmas tree, the first tree Alexander had put up in 5 years. Hearing tomorrow. Catherine's face became serious. I'm coming with you. As a witness. Catherine, don't argue. I'm going to testify in your favor. I'm going to say you've changed, that you're better, that Emily makes you happy. They're going to ask why we divorced. And I'm going to tell the truth. That I wasn't strong enough to stay when he needed me most. But that you're strong enough to raise Emily. Alexander nodded, grateful. Alexander, Emily called from the living room. Can you come here? He went and found Emily looking at an old box in the corner of the room. What's in that box? Alexander froze. He knew that box. It was Sophia's belongings, stored for 5 years, never opened. It's Sophia's things. Can I see? Emily, I don't know if... Please, I want to know her better. Catherine put her hand on Alexander's shoulder. Maybe it's good for you too. With trembling hands, Alexander opened the box. Inside were photos, drawings, toys, little clothes, each item a memory that cut like glass. Emily picked up a photo. It was Sophia, 6 years old, smiling with 2 baby teeth missing. She was beautiful, Emily whispered. She was. Emily continued looking at the photos, touching the objects with reverence. Then she found something that made her eyes widen. It was a notebook, Sophia's diary. Can I read it? Alexander was about to say no, but Catherine stopped him. Let her read it. Emily opened the notebook to the last written page. Sophia's childish handwriting was there. December 23rd. Today is the day before Christmas Eve. Daddy promised that tomorrow we'll pick out the tree. I'm so excited. I wish Mommy didn't have to work so much. She looks tired, but Daddy says she saves lives, that she's a hero. I want to be like her when I grow up. I want to help people. I prayed today for God to take care of Mommy, Daddy, and me. And I prayed for all the children who don't have a family on Christmas, because everyone deserves love. It was the last entry. Sophia had died the next day. Emily started to cry. She prayed for me. What? Alexander asked, confused. For children without a family on Christmas. She prayed for me. 5 years before I was even born, she was already praying for me. Alexander felt the air leave his lungs. He'd never thought about it that way. Emily, Catherine said gently, do you think that Sophia brought you to Alexander? I do, Emily said with conviction. I think she asked God to take care of me, and God sent her father. The silence that followed was sacred. Even Alexander, who hadn't believed in God for 5 years, felt something bigger. Alexander, Emily said, holding Sophia's photo. Can I keep this? To remember her. You can. You can keep whatever you want. Emily hugged the photo to her chest. Thank you, Sophia, for giving me a family. Catherine started to cry. Alexander too. And there, in the room decorated for Christmas for the first time in 5 years, 3 broken people began to heal. That night, Alexander couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m., he got up and went to Emily's room. The door was slightly open. Emily, are you awake? I am, came the small answer. He entered. Emily was sitting up in bed, hugging the teddy bear and Sophia's photo. I'm scared about tomorrow, she confessed. Me too. What if they take me away? Alexander sat down on the bed. Then I'm going to fight. I'll appeal. I'll sue them. I'll do everything I can. But what if it doesn't work? He held her small hand. Emily, I want to tell you something. When Sophia died, I wanted to die too. I thought life wasn't worth living without her. I spent 5 years just existing, without feeling, without living. And now, thanks to you, I want to live again. I want to wake up in the morning. I want to see you grow up, go to school, make friends, chase your dreams. You saved me, Emily, and I'm not going to let anyone take you away from me. Promise, promise, with every fiber of my being. Emily threw herself into his arms, crying. Alexander held her tight, feeling his own tears fall. I love you so much, Emily whispered. I love you too, more than I thought it was possible to love someone again. They stayed like that for long minutes. Then Emily asked something surprising. Can I pray? Alexander, who hadn't prayed in 5 years, hesitated. You can. Emily clasped her small hands together. Dear God, thank you for bringing me to Alexander. Thank you for him having a good heart, even when it's broken. Please let me stay with him. Let us be a family, and take care of Sophia in heaven. Tell her I'm going to take care of her father down here. Amen. Amen, Alexander repeated, his voice breaking. He laid Emily back down, covered her, and was about to leave when she called him back. Alexander, yes? No matter what happens tomorrow, you'll always be my father, in my heart. The words broke Alexander completely. He knelt beside the bed. And you'll always be my daughter, in my heart. On Christmas morning, at 9 a.m., Alexander, Emily, Catherine, and Margaret arrived at the courthouse. The room was full. Reporters, social workers, state representatives, even some people who had seen the story on TV and came to show support. Linda Morrison was there, with a stern expression. Beside her, a state attorney and a child psychologist. The judge was a man in his mid-60s named Robert Harrison, known for being fair but strict. Good morning, everyone, he began. I know it's Christmas, so let's resolve this quickly. This is the case of Emily Rose Parker versus the state of New York, with Alexander Sterling petitioning for custody. Who would like to begin? The state attorney stood up. Your Honor, the state believes that M.R. Sterling, despite good intentions, is not fit to raise a child. He has a history of severe depression, a suicide attempt, and has known the minor for only 2 weeks. Objection. Margaret stood up. Length of acquaintance does not determine parental fitness. As for his medical history, my client is in treatment. Treatment that began 2 weeks ago. The attorney countered. Coincidentally, when the media started covering the case. That's irrelevant. What matters is that he's getting treatment. Order. The judge banged his gavel. I'll hear witnesses. Call the first. Linda Morrison was called. She testified against Alexander, listing all the risks, all the red flags. Then it was Catherine's turn. Mrs. Sterling, the state attorney began. Were you married to the defendant? I was. And why did you divorce? Catherine took a deep breath. Because I wasn't strong enough to stay when he needed me most. Because I was afraid of his pain, and I ran away. Was he dangerous? To himself, yes. To others, never. And now, do you think he can raise Emily? Catherine looked at Alexander, then at Emily. I think Emily is raising him. She's bringing him back to life. And together, they're healing each other. Murmurs through the room. The judge banged his gavel again. Does anyone else want to testify? I do. Everyone turned. It was Emily, standing up. Miss Parker, the judge said gently, you don't have to. I want to speak. For Alexander, the judge hesitated, then nodded. "You may approach." Emily went to the front, so small that she could barely see over the bench. "Your Honor," she began with a firm voice, "I know that everyone thinks Alexander can't take care of me, that he's too broken, too sad. But you know what? I'm broken too. My mother died. I slept on the street. I was alone and scared." Tears streamed down her little face. But then Alexander saw me, and even though he was broken, he helped me. He gave me food, a home, love. He's not perfect, but who is? And if you take me away from him, you're going to break both of us again. Forever. The room was in absolute silence. The judge cleared his throat, clearly emotional. "Thank you, Miss Parker. You may sit." Emily went back to Alexander's side, and he embraced her tightly. The judge looked at his papers, then at the room, then at Alexander and Emily. "I will give my verdict." The world stopped. Judge Robert Harrison took off his glasses and cleaned them carefully. The silence in the room was deafening. Every second felt like an eternity. "In my 40 years as a judge," he began, "I have seen hundreds of custody cases. Most follow predictable patterns. This case is different." Alexander squeezed Emily's hand tightly. "Mr. Sterling has a troubled past. That's undeniable. Severe depression, suicide attempt, traumatic loss. Any psychology textbook would say he is unfit." Emily started crying silently, but the judge continued, "I don't judge by textbooks. I judge by people. And seeing you two together, seeing the testimony of this courageous child, seeing testimony from the ex-wife who could have destroyed this case but chose to support it, I see something textbooks don't capture." He put his glasses back on. "I see genuine love." Alexander held his breath. "Therefore, I grant temporary custody to M.R. Alexander Sterling with a 6-month probationary period. During this time, there will be monthly visits from social services, mandatory psychological follow-up, and complete reassessment at the end of the period." Bang! The gavel came down. The room erupted. Reporters shouting questions, people applauding, Linda Morrison protesting. Emily threw herself into Alexander's arms. "I'm going to stay. Really stay." "You are," he whispered, tears streaming freely. "You're going to stay." Catherine hugged them both, also crying. Margaret smiled professionally, but her eyes were wet. "Merry Christmas," the judge said before leaving. "Use this chance well." Outside the courthouse, snow was falling heavily. Reporters surrounded Alexander. "Mr. Sterling, how do you feel? What will you say to your critics? Is this about replacing Sophia?" Alexander raised his hand, asking for silence. "I want to say something. Emily doesn't replace Sophia. No one could. Sophia will always have a place in my heart. But the heart is big enough to love more than one person." He looked at Emily. "This girl saved me when I didn't even know I needed saving. She taught me that life continues, that love is possible again, that second chances exist. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving I was worthy of that chance." "And you, Emily?" a reporter asked. "How do you feel?" Emily, shyly, stepped up to the microphone. "I feel at home." The cameras captured everything, and that image, man and girl embracing in the snow, smiling through their tears, became the front page of every newspaper the next day. Back at the mansion, they found a surprise. Margaret, Catherine, and even some of Alexander's staff had completely decorated the house. Huge tree in the living room, lights everywhere, a table set with a complete Christmas dinner. "You did all this?" Emily asked in wonder. "Of course," Margaret said. "Every Christmas deserves to be special." They dined together, Alexander, Emily, Catherine, Margaret, Thomas the driver, Mrs. Chen the housekeeper, an improvised but genuine family. "Can I make a toast?" Emily asked. "Of course," Alexander said. Emily raised her juice glass. "To families we choose, to people who don't give up, and to Christmas, which brought miracles." "Cheers," everyone said in unison. After dinner, Alexander took Emily to the window. "See those lights down there? Millions of people in New York, each one with their own story, their struggles, their dreams. And we're just two more people," Emily said. "Exactly. But to me, you're the whole world." Emily hugged Alexander tightly. "Can I call you Dad?" The question caught him off guard. Tears filled his eyes immediately. "You can, if you want to." "I want to. You're my dad now. On paper, in my heart, in everything. And you're my daughter. Forever." In the days that followed, they began to build a routine. Alexander enrolled Emily in an excellent private school. He hired tutors. He bought books, toys, clothes. But Emily didn't just want material things. "Dad," she said one night, "can I ask you something?" "Anything. I want us to do things together. Normal things, like cooking, watching movies, playing games. I don't just want to be rich. I want to have a real dad." Alexander realized he was making the same mistake as before, trying to buy love instead of giving time. "You're right. Starting today, every Friday night is ours. No phone, no work, just us two. Promise, promise." And he kept it. Every Friday, without fail, they spent the evening together. Sometimes they cooked a disastrous dinner. Sometimes they played board games. Sometimes they just talked. Emily told stories about her mother, happy memories from before the illness. Alexander told stories about Sophia, about 5 years of pain. They healed each other, word by word, tear by tear. But not everything was perfect. On a Tuesday, 3 weeks after the hearing, Emily had her first nightmare. Alexander woke to screams at 3 a.m. He ran to her room and found Emily trembling, sweating, crying. "Mom, Mom was calling me. SHH, it's okay. It was just a dream." "No, she was there. She said I forgot her, that I replaced her." Alexander held Emily while she sobbed. "You didn't forget your mom, and you never will. Having a new dad doesn't erase the love for your mom." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. Look at me. I love you as my daughter, but I still love Sophia too. Love isn't finite, Emily. It multiplies. Can you stay with me until I fall asleep? I can stay all night if you need me to." He did, and he stayed on the nights that followed when the nightmares came back, holding her hand, singing lullabies he remembered from Sophia, promising he'd never leave. In the 5th week, the first social worker visit came. Linda Morrison arrived with a clipboard and skeptical expression. "Mr. Sterling, Miss Parker, I'm here for the monthly evaluation. She spent 3 hours inspecting everything. Emily's bedroom, the refrigerator, school schedules, medical records. Emily, can you talk with me alone? Linda asked. Alexander started to protest, but Emily nodded that it was okay. They were in the office for 20 minutes. When they came out, Linda's expression was less severe. Everything okay? Alexander asked anxiously. Emily, Linda said, can I ask one final question? You can. If you could choose any family in the world, any situation, would you choose to stay here? Emily didn't hesitate for a second. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Linda made a final note. My report will be positive, Mr. Sterling. Keep it up. When she left, Emily jumped into Alexander's arms. I passed the test. It wasn't a test. It was an evaluation. But I passed, right? Passed with flying colors. That night, eating pizza in the living room, their Friday night tradition, Emily made an observation. You know, what's funny? Dad, what? A month ago, I was on the street, alone, cold, without hope. And today I'm here, eating pizza with my dad, in a mansion, going to a good school. It's like a fairy tale. It's not a fairy tale, Alexander said. It's real life, with problems, nightmares, annoying social workers, but also with love, especially with love. Emily bit into a piece of pizza thoughtfully. Do you think Sophia is happy? Up in heaven, watching us? Alexander looked at the ceiling, as if he could see through it. I think so. I think she's smiling, because she always wanted me to be happy again. And you are happy? He looked at the 7-year-old girl who had changed everything, who had shattered his certainties and rebuilt his soul. I am. For the first time in 5 years, I'm genuinely happy. Me too, Emily whispered. Me too. And they're in that room of a mansion worth millions eating $15 pizza, as if it were a royal banquet, father and daughter, united not by blood but by choice, celebrated the greatest miracle of all, the miracle of new beginnings. 3 months later, Alexander was in his first group therapy session for adoptive parents. The room had 10 people sitting in a circle, each one with their own adoption story, their challenges, their fears. Alexander, the therapist, Dr. Sarah Chen, called. Would you like to share how it's been going? He hesitated. He'd never been good at talking about emotions publicly, but he looked around and saw genuine, non-judgmental people. It's been transformative and terrifying. Terrifying how? She encouraged. Because every day I wake up afraid I'll fail, that I won't be good enough, that Emily will realize she made a mistake choosing to stay with me. A woman in her 50s named Patricia spoke up. I feel the same way. I adopted my son 2 years ago, and I still wake up thinking he is going to wake up and reject me. Has that ever happened? Alexander asked. Never. But the fear doesn't go away. You learn to live with it. How? By focusing on love, not fear. Every time fear comes, I hug my son and remind myself why I do this. Alexander nodded, absorbing the wisdom. Meanwhile, at school, Emily was facing her own challenges. Hey, orphan, a girl named Madison said at recess. I heard your dad bought you, like a luxury pet. Emily felt her face heat up. He didn't buy me. He adopted me because he loves me. Sure, Madison laughed. He loves you so much that he needs a social worker watching. Everyone knows you're on probation. Shut up, Emily said, her hands trembling. Or what? Going to cry to Mommy? Oh, I forgot. You don't have a mommy. She died. Emily didn't think. She pushed Madison hard. The girl fell to the ground, screaming. Teachers came running. Emily was taken to the principal's office. Alexander got the call in the middle of his therapy session. Mr. Sterling, you need to pick up Emily. There's been an incident. When he arrived at the school, he found Emily sitting outside the principal's office, head down, ashamed. Emily, what happened? She told him everything. The taunts, the anger, the push. The principal, Mrs. Thompson, was stern. Mr. Sterling, we don't tolerate violence. Emily is suspended for 3 days. I understand. And the other girl? Is she going to be punished for bullying? Madison will be given a verbal reprimand. A verbal reprimand? She attacked my daughter emotionally. With all respect, Mr. Sterling, words aren't physical aggression. Words hurt more than punches, especially for a child who's already been through trauma. The principal sighed. Regardless, the rules are clear. 3 days of suspension. In the car outside, Emily cried. I'm sorry, Dad. I ruined everything. You didn't ruin anything, but I hit her. What if the social worker finds out? What if they take me away from you? Alexander pulled the car over. Look at me. Emily lifted her tear-streaked face. You defended your honor. You defended our family. Yes, pushing wasn't right. But I understand why you did it. And we're going to work on better ways to deal with anger. You're not mad? I'm mad at that cruel girl. At the principal for doing nothing. But at you? Never. Emily threw herself into his arms. I love you so much. I love you too. And nothing is going to change that. That evening, dining together, Alexander had an idea. How about we take martial arts classes together? Martial arts? Yes. Karate? Maybe. It teaches discipline, self-control, and how to defend yourself without unnecessary violence. You would do that with me. Of course. We'll learn together. And they did. Every Tuesday and Thursday, father and daughter went to karate class. At first they were the worst in the class. Alexander at 45 with no flexibility, Emily too small for the techniques. But they persisted, and slowly they improved. Sensei, Emily asked the instructor after a month, why does karate teach you not to fight? Sensei Takeshi, a 70-year-old man, smiled. Because true strength doesn't need to prove anything. Those who know how to fight don't need to fight. The lesson marked Emily deeply. When she returned to school after suspension, Madison tried to provoke her again. So, the violent one, you coming to beat me up again? Emily took a deep breath, remembering her lessons. No, I came to forgive you. Madison was confused. What? You're hurting inside. I know because I've been there. So I forgive you for being cruel. And I hope one day you'll be truly happy. And she simply walked away. Madison stood there, mouth open, not knowing how to react. That evening, when Emily told the story, Alexander hugged her with pride. That was more courageous than any punch could have been. I learned from you. You forgave so many people. Catherine, the doctors who couldn't save Sophia, even yourself. I'm still learning to forgive myself. We learn together. Remember? He smiled. I remember. Always together. In the 4th month, the bigger challenge came. Catherine showed up with news. Alexander, Emily, I have something to tell you. They were in the living room. Emily doing homework. Alexander answering emails. I'm pregnant. Total silence. Pregnant. Alexander repeated. 3 months along. Richard's baby. My husband. Emily looked at Catherine with wide eyes. You're going to have a baby? I am. And I wanted you to know first because this baby is going to be Emily's half-sibling. Emily processed that. Half-sibling. Technically not, Catherine explained. We're not connected by blood, but if you want, if you'll let me be part of your life, we could be extended family. Alexander waited for Emily's reaction. The girl was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, is the baby going to have a mom and dad? Yes. And grandparents? Yes. And is it going to be loved? Very much. Emily nodded. Then I'm happy. Every child deserves to be loved. Catherine started to cry. You're special, Emily. So special. Can I meet the baby when it's born? You can. And you can visit whenever you want. That night, in bed, Emily made a confession. Dad, can I tell you something? Always. I got jealous when Catherine told me about the baby. Why? Because the baby is going to have a mom and dad, and I only have you. Alexander sat on her bed. Is just me not enough? It's more than enough, but sometimes I miss having a mom. You know, he understood. Of course he understood. Emily, I can never be a mom to you, but I can give you all the love that two parents would give. And Catherine, if you want, she could be like a special aunt. What if I want more than that? More like what? Emily hesitated. What if one day you marry again? Then I'd have a mom? The question caught Alexander completely off guard. You won't need to marry again. I want you to be happy. And if having someone makes you happy, then yes. Emily, you make me happy. Happier than I ever imagined being again. But you're alone when I'm at school. When I sleep. Isn't that lonely? It was. Very much. But he didn't want her to feel guilty. Sometimes. But I have you, and that's enough. Emily hugged her dad. You're the best dad in the world. And you're the best daughter. In the 5th month, they took a trip together. Alexander rented a house on the beach in the Hamptons. Just the two of them, a whole week. They woke up early, walked on the beach, built sandcastles, cooked together. One night, making s'mores by the fire, Emily asked, Dad, are you happy now? Really happy? Alexander looked at the fire, then at his daughter. You know what I learned? Happiness isn't the absence of pain. It's choosing love despite the pain. That's deep. He laughed. I learned it in therapy. Is therapy helping? A lot. I learned that I can love you without betraying Sophia's memory. That my heart is big enough for both of you. Do you think she would have liked me? I'm certain. You two would have been best friends. Sophia was protective, courageous, full of life, just like you. Emily smiled. When I grow up, I want to help children, like you helped me. How? I don't know yet. Maybe be a social worker, or open an orphanage, or something. But I want no child to feel alone like I felt. Alexander felt immense pride. You're going to change the world, Emily. We're going to change it together. And looking at the stars, father and daughter made a promise to do exactly that. Change the world, one child at a time, starting with themselves. The 6th month arrived, the week of the final reassessment, the week that would decide if Emily could stay permanently. Alexander was confident. The monthly reports had all been positive. Emily was doing well at school, in therapy, socially. Everything indicated success until the bomb exploded. Linda Morrison arrived on a Tuesday, but not alone. She brought 2 FBI agents with her. Mr. Sterling, these are federal agents. They need to speak with you and Emily. Separately. Alexander's heart sank. FBI. Why? We received an anonymous report. Serious allegations. About you and Emily. What kind of allegations? I can't discuss that, but I need you to cooperate. Emily appeared on the stairs, pale. Dad? What's happening? One of the agents, a woman in her 40s named Agent Parker, approached. Emily, I'm Agent Parker. I need to ask you some questions. In private. No, Alexander said. She's a minor. I need to be present. Mr. Sterling, if you don't cooperate, I'll have to take Emily into protective custody. Now, Alexander's world imploded. Protective custody? Based on an anonymous report? Based on allegations of emotional abuse and manipulation? Abuse? Alexander exploded. I have never laid a finger on her. It's not about physical abuse. It's about unhealthy emotional dependence. About you using Emily to fill the void left by Sophia. Emily ran down the stairs. That's not true. He never used me. He loves me. Emily, honey, Agent Parker said gently. Sometimes people who are hurting hurt others without realizing it. But he didn't hurt me. Let's talk about that. In private, they took Emily to a room. Alexander stayed with the other agent, a stern-looking man named Agent Morrison. Mr. Sterling, someone very close to you, made a detailed report, alleging that you emotionally manipulated Emily, that you're reproducing unhealthy patterns from your relationship with Sophia, that you're using adoption as personal therapy. Who would do that? I can't reveal that. Who? Alexander roared. At that moment, the door opened. Catherine entered, 6 months pregnant, crying. It was me. The silence was deafening. Alexander looked at her like he didn't recognize her. I didn't want to. But Richard convinced me it was to protect Emily. Protect from what? I love her. I know. But you're using her to heal your wounds. And that's not fair to her. How dare you? Catherine was sobbing uncontrollably. Because I watched you do this before. With Sophia, put all your hopes, dreams, emotional needs on her. And when she died, you died with her. And now you're doing it again with Emily. It's not the same thing. It is. You can't live without her. Your entire identity is being her father. And if something happens to Emily, will you survive this time? The question cut like a blade. Because Alexander knew the answer. No. He wouldn't survive. Agent Morrison intervened. Mr. Sterling, we're going to need Emily to remain under state supervision while we investigate. No, you're not taking her. It's not optional. I said nitrogen monoxide. At that moment, Emily came out of the room with Agent Parker. Her eyes were red, face wet with tears. Emily, Alexander rushed to her. Are you okay? What did they ask? She didn't respond, just looked at him with an expression he'd never seen before. Fear. Emily? Agent Parker asked if I feel pressured to love you, if I'm afraid of disappointing you, if sometimes I pretend to be happy so you don't get sad. And what did you say? Tears streamed down her face. I told the truth. Alexander's heart stopped. What truth? That yes, sometimes I do pretend, because I'm afraid that if I'm not perfect, you'll give me back, or worse, that you'll try to hurt yourself again. The confession destroyed Alexander completely. Emily, I would never. I know you don't do it on purpose, but when you get sad, I blame myself. When you have a bad day, I think I did something wrong, and I'm so afraid of losing you that I smother my own feelings. Agent Parker spoke. This is exactly the unhealthy pattern that was reported. Emily is sacrificing her own emotional well-being to take care of an adult who should be taking care of her. No, Alexander whispered. No, this can't be happening, Mr. Sterling, Linda Morrison said. I'm going to have to remove Emily temporarily. Nitrogen monoxide. Emily screamed. I don't want to go. Dear, it's for your own good. It's not. I love my dad. I just wanted him to be happy without me too. The sentence echoed through the room. Alexander knelt in front of her. Emily, listen. I didn't realize I was putting this weight on you. It's not your fault. It is. Catherine's right. I was using you to heal myself. And that's not fair. But I want to help you. It's not your job to help me, sweetheart. It's my job to take care of you. He turned to Agent Parker. Take her, temporarily, until I can prove I can be a real father, not a self-healing project. Nitrogen monoxide. Emily threw herself into his arms. Don't send me away. I'm not sending you away. I'm freeing you from a responsibility that was never supposed to be yours. But I love you. I love you too. That's why I'm doing this. Emily cried so hard she collapsed from exhaustion in his arms. Agent Parker took her gently. Mr. Sterling, you did the right thing. It doesn't feel like it. They took Emily away. Catherine tried to approach, but Alexander stopped her. Don't talk to me ever again. He was alone in the mansion for the first time in 6 months, and the silence was deafening. He called Dr. Sarah Chen, his therapist. Doctor, I ruined everything. Come to the office. Now. In the emergency session, Alexander fell apart. She was right. Catherine, I was using Emily. Not on purpose, but I was. Realizing that is already growth. It's not enough. Emily is suffering because of me. Alexander, do you want Emily back? More than anything. Then you need to do the real work. Not therapy to look good for social workers. Real work. How? By learning to be happy alone, so you can be happy with her. In the 2 weeks that followed, Alexander did something he'd never done before. He focused on himself. Daily therapy, support groups, meditation, exercise. He read books about healthy parenting, about emotional dependence, about real healing. And for the first time, he confronted the truth he'd been avoiding for 5 years. He didn't love Sophia in a healthy way. He'd placed his entire identity on being her father. And when she died, he died because he didn't know how to be anything besides a father. He was doing the same thing with Emily. On the 10th day, he received a letter from Emily. "Dad, I'm not mad at you. I know you love me, but you need to learn to love yourself too. Because when you smile for real again, not pretending for me, that's when I'll know I can come back. I love you. Always. Emily." The letter broke and healed Alexander at the same time. On the 15th day, he asked for a meeting with Catherine. "You did the right thing," he said. She widened her eyes. "What? Reporting me? It was cruel. It hurt. But it was right. I needed this wake-up call. Alexander, thank you for loving me enough to do the hard thing." Catherine cried. "I just wanted to protect Emily. And you." "I know. And you did." On the 20th day, Agent Parker called. "Mr. Sterling, Emily can receive visits. Would you like to come?" 20 minutes later, he was at the temporary home. Emily ran to him, but Alexander stopped her. "Before you hug me, I need to say something." "What?" "I'm sorry for putting pressure on you, for making you feel responsible for my happiness. You're a child, Emily, and children deserve to be children. But I want to make you happy, and you do, just by existing. But I also need to make myself happy. Alone. And I'm learning how, rediscovering who I am beyond being a father. Alexander Sterling, who likes to read, walk, cook badly, who has friends, hobbies, his own life. That way when I'm with you, I'll be whole, not broken, waiting for you to fix me." Emily hugged him, crying. "You're better. I can feel it. I am. And I'm going to keep getting better. For me, for you, for us. Can I come back home? When you're ready, and when I prove the home is healthy for you. It already is. It's going to be even better." And for the first time, the hug felt different. It wasn't Emily saving Alexander. It was two imperfect humans loving each other despite their wounds. And that was more beautiful than any fairy tale. 6 weeks later, Christmas Eve again. Exactly 1 year since Alexander first found Emily, he was standing in front of the same courthouse, in the same room, with the same judge, Robert Harrison. But everything was different now. "Mr. Sterling," the judge began, reading through the reports. "I see here that you've completed 100 hours of intensive therapy, participated in support groups for adoptive parents, took a course on conscious parenting, and all psychological reports indicate significant progress." "Yes, Your Honor." "Emily," the judge turned to her, "you spent 6 weeks in a temporary home. How was it?" Emily, now 8 years old, stood up. "It was hard. I missed my dad a lot. But I also learned important things." "Like what?" "I learned that loving someone doesn't mean being responsible for their happiness. That I can be a child. And that my dad loves me enough to do the hard work of getting better." The judge smiled. "Wise beyond your years. And Mr. Sterling, what did you learn?" Alexander stood, his voice firm but emotional. "I learned that being a father isn't just about loving. It's about creating an environment where a child can grow free, without the emotional weight of an adult. I learned that I need to be a whole person, not half a person waiting to be completed by someone else. And are you that person now? I'm still a work in progress. But yes, I'm better, healthier, ready to be the father Emily deserves. The judge looked at the papers one more time. Then he banged his gavel. Permanent custody granted. Emily Rose Parker is officially the daughter of Alexander Sterling. Adoption is finalized. The room erupted in applause. Emily ran to Alexander, jumping into his arms, both crying, laughing, holding each other so tight as if they'd never let go. Is it forever now? Emily sobbed. Forever and ever, Alexander answered, tears streaming freely. You're my daughter, legally, emotionally, eternally. I love you so much, Dad. I love you too, my little one. More than words can say. Catherine was there, 8 months pregnant, also crying. Margaret discreetly wiped her eyes. Even Linda Morrison had a small smile. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. But this time Alexander didn't stop to talk. He just held Emily's hand and walked to the limousine. Dad, aren't we going to talk to them? No. Today is just ours. No cameras, no speeches, just father and daughter. Back at the mansion, Alexander had a surprise. The house was full. Catherine and Richard, Margaret, Dr. Sarah Chen, Sensei Takoshi, Emily's schoolmates, Alexander's employees, even some children from Emily's old temporary home. Surprise! Everyone shouted. Emily's mouth fell open. A party? For me, an adoption party, Alexander explained. To celebrate that you're my daughter forever. The room was decorated with photos of them throughout the year. Emily and Alexander making silly faces in the kitchen. At Crotty, at the beach, smiling, laughing, living. Catherine approached with a wrapped gift. Emily, this is for you. Emily opened it. It was a photo album, but not new photos, old ones, of Sophia. They're photos of Sophia, Catherine explained, her voice breaking. I wanted you to know her better, because you two would have been best friends. Emily held the album to her chest. Thank you. I'm going to take care of them like treasure. I know you will. Catherine wiped her tears. And Emily, my baby is due next month. I wanted to ask you something. What? I wanted you to be like a godmother, not officially, but in my heart. Because you've taught me so much about love, forgiveness, courage. Emily looked at Alexander, who nodded encouragement. I would love that. And I promised to tell the baby about Sophia, so he knows he had an amazing sister. Catherine hugged Emily, sobbing, two hearts broken by the same loss, now healing together. That evening, when the party ended and everyone had gone, Alexander took Emily to a special place. Central Park was covered in snow. Christmas lights sparkled in the trees. And in the center of the park, Alexander had something erected. A marble bench with a bronze plaque. In memory of Sophia Elizabeth Sterling 2012 to 2019, who taught us that love never dies, only transforms. And of Jennifer Parker 1985 to 023, who loved Emily more than life itself. To mothers, to stars, guiding us from heaven. Emily read the plaque and fell apart. Dad, you did this? I did. Because Sophia and your mother deserve to be remembered. And because our love for them doesn't compete. It multiplies. Emily touched her mother's name on the plaque. Mom, I have a dad now. A good dad who loves me. I hope you're proud. Then she touched Sophia's name. And Sophia, thank you for sharing your dad with me. I promise to take care of him. Alexander knelt beside her in the snow. You know, what's incredible? A year ago, at this exact moment, I was walking down that street over there, empty, dead inside, without purpose. And then you found me. No, you found me. You had the courage to ask for help, to believe in a stranger, to take a chance when you had no reason to, because I saw goodness in your eyes, even covered in sadness, and you uncovered that goodness. You made me remember how to live. Emily hugged her dad tightly. We saved each other. We did. And we're going to keep saving each other. Every day. For life. They stayed there, embraced in the snow, under the bench honoring to women who never met, but were united by the love they planted. Dad. Yes. My little one. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Emily. The best one ever. And it was. Because they had each other. 2 years later, Alexander Sterling, now 47 years old, stood on a stage in front of hundreds of people. 3 years ago, he began. I was a billionaire with everything and nothing. I had money, power, success, but I was dead inside. The audience listened in absolute silence. Then a 7-year-old girl appeared in my life and asked me a simple question. Will you adopt me? Emily, now 10 years old, watched from the front row next to Catherine, who was holding a 1-year-old named Lucas. I laughed. I laughed because I thought it was absurd. But that girl didn't give up. And in 24 hours, she did the impossible. She destroyed me and rebuilt me. He looked directly at Emily. That's why, today, I'm proud to announce the Sophia and Emily Foundation, dedicated to connecting orphaned children with adoptive families. Because every child deserves love, and every broken adult deserves a second chance. The audience erupted in applause. Alexander came down from the stage and hugged Emily. I'm proud of you, Dad. I'm proud of us. That evening, eating pizza in the living room, their sacred tradition, Emily made an announcement. Dad, I've decided what I want to be when I grow up. What? A social worker, to help children like me. To make sure they're adopted by people like you. Alexander felt his eyes burn. You're going to change so many lives. I'm going to try, just like you changed mine. And there, in that mansion that was no longer empty, with a heart that was no longer broken, Alexander Sterling understood the fundamental truth. Money doesn't buy happiness. Power doesn't heal loneliness, but love, genuine love, given freely, expecting nothing in return, that transforms everything. Emily wasn't a replacement for Sophia. She was the universe's gift to a man who almost gave up. And together, they proved that miracles don't only happen at Christmas. They happen when someone has the courage to ask for help. And when someone has the courage to say yes. Will you adopt me? A simple question. An answer that changed to lives. Forever. Did this touching story move your heart? Then, like this video if this story touched your heart. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any inspiring stories. Comment below. Which part moved you the most? Do you believe in second chances? What city or country are you watching from? Binge other stories from the channel and let love fill your heart. A very special thank you to each and every one of you who follow these stories. You are amazing.